Streaming live around the world, this is Paper Cuts with Brad and Jay.
I'm the one you love. I'm Jay. Thanks so much for stopping by. Over there's Brad. It's his show.
It's his show. That's why I'm the host, and we just love Jay.
Now you know it's all natural. I mean, you know, nothing's rehearsed, right?
No, absolutely nothing is rehearsed on this show.
God, you just suck the life out of me. It feels like
you've got a lot grayer since we started this.
I have. I know. I have.
Tonight, welcome to the show, Tim Meyer. We are live.
All right, let's do this. Good evening. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Paper Cuts. Thanks for taking time out of your busy weekend to join us. That's Brad over there. I'm Jay. We have someone tonight, no stranger to the horror community, to the writing community, but we're trying to figure out how is this the first time he's been on the show. I narrowed it down to a couple of reasons. One,
we don't. No one likes Jay.
I think he was avoiding us. I think he was just avoiding us. That's number one. Yeah. Okay. Number two, I think he was just waiting to see if the show was legit.
Is it legit though? I don't even know. Go that far, Jay.
Or number three, Chalutsky told him not to come on. So it could be one of those things. Okay,
could be
a little bit of everything,
a little bit together. Yeah. So we had the writer of the Switch House, Paradise Club, Malignant Summer we was just talking about, and he also co-wrote Wormwood. Speaking of which, my best friend Chalutsky, they did that together. His newest creation, very purpley cover here.
I dig the purple a lot.
From DarkLit Press, we have LACUNA'S Point. It was released earlier this month.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Tim Meyer. Tim, thanks so much. Don't believe everything Chad's told you. But welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
What's going on, Tim? You doing all right, man?
I'm doing great. I am just hanging out at the house, drinking some pumpkin beer because it's that time of year.
Oh, really? It's August. Pumpkin, come on.
Yep,
I will
the
drink
pumpkin
it.
spices everywhere already.
I will drink it 365 days a year if I have my way.
I think my wife's that same way. I've never liked any of the pumpkin flavor stuff. I don't like pumpkin pie, so
No
pumpkin
pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No pumpkin.
Jay, the show's over, dude. We just can't be friends
I'm
anymore. You don't like pumpkin pie.
Is that what's going after all these years?
That's the deal breaker.
All the things
pumpkin
I've done.
pie.
Yeah, that was the line of all the jokes I've done and all the negative reviews I've talked about. It's going to be the pumpkin pie that's going to end the show.
The straw that broke the camel's back, Jay. The pumpkin pie, man. You're killing me.
What are you drinking, Brad?
Just water tonight. I just got home. I didn't have time for anything else.
Okay.
Just water. I can grab something over there, but
got a little bourbon here for everybody. A little Weller antique. So if I get bourbon tongue, then you know.
Becoming an aficionado.
Brad's driving me to drinking. So, Tim, thanks so much for hanging out. We appreciate you stopping by. How's this new book going? What's the reaction been so far with LACUNA'S Point?
It's been
a background about with it here.
It's been pretty well received so far from what I've seen. I try not to look at my reviews too much, but the ones that I have seen, they've been pretty positive. So
it's a chunker.
It's a little bit big, yeah. It's like 128,000 words, which is I don't know, what is it, like a little over 400 pages, 500 pages.
Like 380, about 390 or so.
Well, the print copy is 388, looks like, but
yeah. So it's a pretty decent size.
You don't really go by pages. You just told us the word count, which that's a writer for you guys. It's
like the writer thing.
The readers will go by the pages, but the writer goes by the word count.
Yeah, it's tough to go by the pages though, because it depends on how the formatting is laid out. It could be a little bit deceiving. So
yeah,
right.
Yeah, anytime someone says it's a word count, it's like I'm trying to calculate like how many pages might that be.
Yeah.
I mean, it could, like, you know, if it was like a smaller size, then you're looking at 500 or 600 pages. And
if it was probably a paperback, it would probably be like 600 pages. But I mean, like the average novel, like industry standard, is like around 90,000 words. Okay. So it's a little bit bigger than that.
So what do we got going on?
You're giving more bang for the buck, then, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. What do we have going on in this one? It looks like a little bit of a blending of genres, what I got out of it. So
yeah, it's a little bit of everything. But the basic story is it's about two girls who go missing down near Virginia Beach. And 3 years later, their parents get a text message from them saying, "Help me, I'm alive." And that prompts the parents to go on a search, and they find this place called LACUNA'S Point, and things kind of just go crazy from there. It's a little bit of horror. There's body horror in it, dark fantasy, just a little bit of everything.
And just a side note, like my family's main vacation spot is usually Virginia Beach.
Oh, really?
So, I mean, you've kind of screwed that up for us a little bit. Just,
Yeah.
I haven't told my wife about it, but just, that's going to be a conversation for later. You got a little about Virginia Beach now, but
I feel like the last few books I've read have taken place in Virginia. Like this one, What Kind of Mother? I think one of Hamlin's books takes place in Virginia. So I feel like I've got Virginia just in the fiction all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's funny because What Kind of Mother is written by Clay, and he blurbed the front cover of this, and
he did, didn't he?
He's like, I guess I haven't read What Kind of Mother yet, but I guess there's like crab horror in it. There's stuff with crabs, and this LACUNA'S Point also has like crab horror in it.
It's a new genre we were going to talk about, crab horror.
Yeah. He's like, oh man, has Virginia, like, it's like our minds were kind of in sync on that weird level. Yeah. So it was funny.
Is that just a Virginia thing, doing crab horror? Is that the staple now?
No, it was, I just thought crab horror was cool.
They totally started a new genre for that horror umbrella. So now it's crab horror. It's got his own corner and his own niche in under the umbrella there. So
I would have said, it was funny because I was thinking this, and then in the book, someone mentions the same thing. This was giving me Back to the Future vibes, I guess, just because of the clock tower.
Oh, yeah.
And then one of the characters later on the books, it's like, oh, yeah, that clock tower makes me think of Back to the Future. And I just thought that was funny.
Yeah. A little shout out for Back to the Future. One of the best movies ever made.
Yes. Jay, do you agree with that? Jay has questionable taste at best.
I think, Back to the Future is one of the best movies. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to, it's a classy. Come on.
Well,
can't argue it.
Better than Star Wars. Go ahead.
For fuck's sake, Jay.
So the reaction's been pretty good, right? And people are talking about it. How's it working with DarkLit Press? We do a lot of stuff actually with DarkLit. It's always fun to work with Andrew and everybody's networking for us.
He's great. He's like constantly working on different ways to promote the books, and he's got we have a DarkLit thread, like a DM thread, and he's always throwing out like suggestions of how to promote stuff and how to get the word out, and just different places, just new ideas that you would never think about. So he's been awesome to work with.
He's a hard worker. He's probably one of the hardest.
I don't know how he sleeps. To be honest with you, because he has like a family. He's got stuff going on, right?
Yeah, but everywhere turn around, hey, here's a new one from DarkLit.
Yeah,
just like he's out there just running the streets with it. So yeah, which I think is pretty good to have, right? Because you got somebody in your corner getting your work out there.
Because it could be the opposite, where the publisher does no promoting.
Yeah, that is.
Do we want to mention those? Or we were talking about back?
No,
I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking. Everyone, calm down.
This had a. He did a trailer for this too, didn't he? Like a YouTube trailer.
Yeah, he cut together this really beautiful book trailer from just like stock images and stock video and B-roll, and it came out like amazing. I was kind of blown away by it, to be honest with you. But yeah, he just does all types of promoting. Like I said, he never stops. So
yeah, and he's willing to get some awesome cover. Like I think everything from DarkLit, it's got some pretty nice, colorful, crazy covers.
Yeah.
Like I could look at my bookshelf and I could pretty much say, okay, that's DarkLit, without actually looking to see, who actually published it. So I mean, he's all out there with these books, getting them out there for us and getting the nice covers for everybody, and also.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything from the cover to the editing, it's all been great.
Yeah.
I'm curious what the
great experience
with something like this. Do you have input on what you'd like to see promotion wise, like book trailer? You said he likes to do different things that aren't the norm for normal presses. Do you have like any input with that kind of stuff? Or
Not like he kind of just like he'll throw out ideas like, oh, I reach out to this podcast to do that, or he'll just like throw out ideas, and then there's like stuff with like book trailer. He was just kind of did it, and I was just like, whoa, that's cool. But like, because a lot of publishers don't do like that little stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's been awesome.
And what was it like with working with Christina Trueborn Designs for the cover? Did you have any input on that, or did she just come to the table, slapping the clock tower on there? Or?
Yeah, I think Andrew just kind of asked me like, "Hey, what do you have? Do you have any ideas for the cover?" And I was just like, "Well, the clock tower is like the central piece of this whole town. It's like the anchor of this town. So I feel like that should be on the cover." And I think he just gave her that information, and she kind of ran with the rest of it and put together a really awesome cover. So
yeah, I might be wrong. Was there another version of the cover with a different looking clock tower, or am I making that up?
Yeah, there was like some issues with the images that they had to correct, but yeah, there was like a previous version. But
I know it looks pretty similar, but it was like just the clock tower itself kind of looked a little
different. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's the concept? Where did the idea come from for this book? Did I read correctly that you wrote a lot of this like a couple years ago? It was like an ongoing project. Okay.
Started it in 2020, like right before the pandemic hit, like probably February. And then as I was writing it, like originally it was going to be like a YA novel. That was like my original idea. And it was going to be like a time travel novel, or like a time loop because of the clock tower. And I kind of had like this time loop idea. And then, as I was writing it, the pandemic struck. So I wasn't working my day job at the time. So I was just home all the time, had nothing to do except really write. And so, yeah, like throughout that year, I kind of put this whole thing together, and the book kind of just changed and took on a completely different life as the year went on.
So you set out for something different actually, and it kind of
it happens a lot. It happens a lot with me. Like I'll start writing something with a concept in my head, and then when I actually start writing it, it's like a completely different novel. It's happened quite a bit. You guys mentioned Dead Daughters earlier. Like that was like the same thing. Like that was just supposed to be like a straight up like thriller. And it kind of like changed. I don't know if you've read it, but like it kind of gets a little crazy in like the third act. And
had a good twist at the end of it.
Yeah, so like that kind of like the whole thing that the twist contains was kind of like unexpected. So that happens with me all the time. I'll set out to write something and it just doesn't turn out the way.
So when you're doing that, do you recognize the point where it changes? Like you might start it one way, but is there like usually a point that's pretty obvious to you? Like I went off the rails. I'm going a different direction. I got to go through with it now. Or does it happen? And then when you look back, you're like, oh, okay, that's what. Okay.
It's each novel's kind of like its own experience too. So it's like there's some novels where I actually plotted it out and like stuck pretty true to the plot. But usually when it goes off the rails, it's usually like halfway into the book. I'm like, this is going in a different direction than I anticipated, and then I just kind of let it go because I feel like that's like more where the creativity comes in for me is like all these crazy things that happened in like halfway through the book.
I love hearing about that because you're allowing the story to tell the story basically. I mean not that there's anything wrong with plotting out every single part because the reader's not going to exactly know if that's what you started out with, but from the creative part, I think that's where sometimes the true art form comes in, trusting where it's going to go and following through with that. So
it's for me it's just every novel's been different, every novella has been different, short story same thing. It's a completely different experience every time out.
I've said this a bunch of times. It always blows my mind when authors say they don't know where their story is going, or like you're saying, you start out with one idea in mind and it turned into completely something different. I don't know. For me, my mind works like I have to know where it's going, and a lot of authors don't write that way at all. They just blows my mind every time I hear an author say that they're just kind of making it up as they go along.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy if you think about it that way. Really I think is crazy, I've heard some writers will write backwards, which blows my mind. Like they'll write the last chapter first and then work backwards to the beginning, and like that's just, I get a headache just thinking about trying to even attempt that.
Yeah, we've had a few guests that have said that, and so they have the ending ready to go. Now they have to work on the journey, and the journey is not always like exact, but they know they have to get to that ending that they already have, unless they have to go back and change everything. So
that's that, and also just writing scenes out of order. Like when I write, I go like from the beginning to the end in order.
Okay.
Like some writers will like write chapter 7 first.
That's what confuses me when they say
12.
that. Yeah,
I can't do that either. My brain's starting to hurt.
I mean, the very little that I've written, it's got to be right in order, or I'm screwed.
Yeah,
like I don't know. This would be good, chapter 13. But wait, I only plan on 10 chapters. I don't know. So that would confuse me like crazy.
Right. I actually, when Lutsky and I were writing Wormwood, he started to do that to me, and I'm like, I can't get on. I can't.
I was gonna say, cause I'm watching him stream. Him and E are streaming writing a book live together, and he's like, "Well, we'll save this part for later." And he's mentioned like he'll write something, and we'll just move this whole chapter to later on in the book. So even with you writing in order, do you ever move anything around though, or does it pretty much stay in linear timeline the way you write it?
That's actually a good question. There's actually something I'm working on now. I'm actually writing a YA novel about alien abductions, and I got like 50,000 words in, which is like more than halfway what I was expecting the novel to be. And I went back and just started rearranging it because like I wanted things to happen a little bit sooner, and so I have technically done that. So. But I feel like that's different because I'm still going linear. Like I started over and then reworked it with like taking pieces of that out and just rearranging it after it was like already written. So I'm still going in order, so like my brain can handle that. But it's it is kind of taking the original idea and just moving parts around.
So you never write in like, oh, chapter 2 is now going to be chapter 10 and just switch it around like that?
Never. No, not like. Yeah. No, I can't just like write a middle scene first. Like I can have ideas for stuff. Like usually when I get an idea, like I'll kind of run through like a movie trailer in my brain.
Right.
Like it'll kind of just play, and then I kind of have like some major plot points to kind of work with. But like again, that can also change. It's not like a hard rules I have to follow or guidelines or anything. There's just these images and different scenes I have imagined.
So are you a visual writer then? Because I've heard some writers say like they can't. I think Cena says that Cena Pelayo, she can't visualize in her head. So are you playing like the movie trailer in your head as you're writing?
I'm very visual and like kind of cinematic almost when I write. And that is a thing because like it's a thing with readers too. Like my wife's like that. If she reads something, she can't like picture the scenes or anything. She's just reading the words and absorbing the story that way. And like me, like when I use my imagination when I read, like I'm like picturing the characters and what they're doing.
Definitely.
And
I think you can understand it better now. I mean, at least I can, because I have to do that too. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the way the brain works or what, but like whatever I'm reading, I'm picturing it right now.
Yep.
It's always
like
a movie,
like a mini movie in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so people can't do that. They have like no whatever that does that. They just don't have it. Yeah. Human brains are weird and awesome.
That's so like I remember Cena saying like if you tell her what does an apple look like she can't even like do that in her head, and that just blows my mind. Especially her being an author. Like I don't know. I just feel like that'd be really hard not to visualize stuff to be able to express that and put it on paper like that.
Yeah, and she's an amazing writer too. So that's even cooler that she doesn't have that visual component and still is able to craft like these amazing prose.
But since us three are saying that the movie's playing, you guys heard it here first. That's the right way to do it.
No, Jade, you can't say.
There's no right.
There's no right way, Jade.
Joking.
You can't be throwing people under the bus.
So with Lacuna's Point, like I mentioned earlier, like it's got several genres in it. It's got horror, a little sci-fi, fantasy, all this stuff. Do you purposely start out that way? Like I'm going to just blend genres, or do you sometimes start out like, okay, this is going to be a horror, but yet you get into one of those situations like it goes sideways and away from what you do. All of a sudden fantasy's in it, or all of a sudden sci-fi's in it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do with all of my works. Like it's just
your gift.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It just feels natural to me to blend those genres, because I think like I really like so many different things. Like horror is not my only love. It's like probably my number one, obviously, because everything I write tends to be horror, even stuff that like I didn't intend, like Dead Daughters, like wanted to write a straight up thriller, and then it got horror-y. So like it
got horrific at the end.
Yeah, it gets, so like everything I write just seems to just have that that in it. Like Limbs was kind of meant to be just like a straight up comedy, and then obviously then that got very horror-y. So it's I don't know. I tend to try to write other stuff, but like horror always pulls me in. Yeah. So
I mean, has it ever backfired? Like, has an editor looked at your stuff, or a publisher, and they're like, "What? This is supposed to be horror, and now it's flying unicorns or whatever." You know what I mean? Like, anybody ever like said, "Hey, what's going on here? What's your point?" Or are they cool with whatever you do?
I've never really had anybody, like reject it because of that. Because they don't know, like, I guess I can see it from their standpoint, like they don't know how to market it, right? Like,
right. That's what I was looking at. Like, I mean, like, so this is with DarkLit and Andrew, and like we were talking about how he's a hardworking dude and all. He's probably fine with all the genres. I would imagine, not knowing him.
Yeah, he's very cool.
So,
very
he's probably cool with being able to market it, whatever. But have you ever ran into anybody where like, okay, we don't know how to market this properly, or?
No, I haven't. Most of the publishers I work with are small presses, so all of them are small presses. So I don't have like usually in the small press, they're usually if they accept something, it's because they've read it, and you're not like with a traditional press. Sometimes you have like a book deal, so like you're turning stuff in that's supposed to be published at a later date, and they could probably kick that back and be like, hey, get rid of the fantasy and just make it straight up horror,
right?
So we can market this thing. But usually in the small press, it's like they read it and they're cool with it prior to it.
It's like the bookstore doesn't know which section to put it in.
Right. Yeah.
Those bookstore sections suck anyway, because they're always.
I don't remember last time I've been in one, to be honest with you. So
no, you'll find like Silva Moreno Garcia in like the thriller section, and then like Stephen Graham Jones is like domestic thrillers, and they don't put stuff in the right place ever anyway.
Yeah,
it's all tough. It's all like subjective too, like what you think it is.
Absolutely.
Like what Rowan Hill said, you need a copy mark. Very
horror-y.
Horror-y.
Lock it down.
Yeah, like you said, your stuff is kind of like, you do like cosmic horror stuff. You did was it Pteranodon Canyon, like the dinosaur horror,
dinosaur western.
Dinosaur western. That was such a cool book. Like,
thanks.
Where did that idea come from? Because that's like, you don't see very many dinosaur stories really at all.
I mean, they always say to like write a book that you don't see on the shelf ever. And
there's
like,
one.
Yeah, like I'm sure they're out there. Like I think Lansdale may have written something.
I'm sure he probably has.
There's some like older like 50s movies, like movies from the 50s or 60s, like that. It was like a dinosaur western. I forget the name of it. Somebody told me as I was writing it, like, oh, that sounds like
it's
that
called
movie.
Pteranodon Canyon.
Yeah. And I was like, damn it, it does exist. But I don't know. It's I've always had a fascination with dinosaurs growing up.
Oh yeah.
And when I started writing it, it was kind of like in the big splatter western boom that happened like quite a few years ago. And so like I've always loved westerns too, like all the old spaghetti westerns. Just I wanted to write a western, but like I didn't know if I could actually write like a straight western, because I feel like there's like historical research that needs to happen.
Right. I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like that would be a little bit more difficult. So I was like, just throw fucking dinosaurs in there, and
Yeah.
And then no one can complain like that wasn't
Nobody can
historically
complain.
accurate, Tim.
Yeah, I know. And that's funny because like that was one of the things I was like, I kind of did want to include a little bit of history in there, but like alternate history. And so like the whole reason why everything that happens in that novel is for something that didn't even exist, and like it wasn't even on people's minds at that point in history.
I'm sure there's
like,
somebody somewhere that's like a hardcore Western reader, or like,
yeah,
history buff.
no, this could never happen.
it basically had to do with like animal rights stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they didn't give a shit about animals back then. Like they didn't care. But yeah, but I could do it because it was dinosaurs and whatever.
Was that one of your most fun books you've written? Just dinosaur
That was
western?
fun one to write. Yeah, that was fun to write. But I kind of treated it like, the reason why I think it works for me at least. I don't know other people, if it worked for other people, but I played it like a straight western though. Like I didn't, it wasn't goofy or anything. At least I didn't intend for it to be goofy, but I just put dinosaurs in there, and it kind of made it like as if dinosaurs just actually existed back in the Old West.
Yeah, it was very self-aware of what it was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally. It was a lot of fun. I like that one a lot. I'm a huge dinosaur fan. Like Jurassic Park was like still is my jam. I love that. So yeah, anything with dinosaurs
so
in
good.
it.
Yeah,
anything with dinosaurs is totally up my alley. You need to start a trend. We need more dinosaur horror books coming out.
They're starting.
We were talking about crab horror and now dinosaur horror. So
dinosaur horror.
Couple extra genres under that umbrella. So
I actually bought Carnosaur by Harry Adam Knight. They was it Valancourt did a re-release.
Oh, it's too far.
It's like right over here.
There's a, let me grab it. Oh, I can't reach it. It's too far.
Yeah,
there's a new one coming out called. Oh, see, that looks awesome.
They re-released it from, I guess it was written in the 80s, and then there was like a 90s movie called Carnosaur that they based it off of. So
there's a one called The Paleontologist coming out with, what's his name, Luke Dumas. He wrote History of Fear that came out recently. I think that would his new one's come out in October, I think, called The Paleontologist. It reminds me of a kind of the Night of the Museum movie, like the haunted museum.
Oh.
There's dinosaurs in it. Is what it sounds like. Yeah, so I'm excited for that. So anything with dinosaurs, yeah, I'm totally down for.
DarkLit is actually doing a like a, I don't even know if I can say. I don't know.
I think he said it. The pirate stuff.
The pirate horror. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I never know what I'm allowed to say, what I can't say. So, but he's doing a pirate line, and one of the books is a dinosaur pirate horror book.
Yes,
that I actually got.
Place.
I actually got to read and blurb it for them, and it is so cool.
Oh man, are you allowed to say who the author is, or that's still
I guess I could say it. It's Christopher Robertson, I think his name is.
Okay, I'm not familiar with him, but that just sounds awesome.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's
somebody
really
had
good.
fun writing it, which is what I would expect.
Oh yeah, it's like it's
fun with
literally like Pirates of the Caribbean meets like Jurassic Park, or like the Lost World Jurassic Park, where
totally
it's on an island. Yeah, pirates on an island full of dinosaurs. It's wild.
I remember when Andrew was talking about the pirate stuff. I felt like that was gonna be like the next wave. Like everyone was on the splatter western train. Like maybe now everyone will be on the horror pirate stuff.
Could happen.
Start a new fad. That'd be cool. Because again, something that is great for horror, like pirates and dinosaurs, but you don't see too much of that kind of stuff. I don't think.
No, never. It was such a cool book. I was like, damn, I wish I would have thought of that.
Come up with that.
The western. Yeah.
What kind of genres do you, I feel like you like a lot of kind of cosmic-y kind of stuff. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I do.
So LACUNA'S Point definitely feels
got cosmic horror in that. Yeah.
A
lot of my stuff does.
Along with that, like you were working on an anthology for Crystal Lake.
Yeah,
right?
which I actually have right here.
Never Wake, and that's to me, thinking of dreams and stuff, that's a little bit on the cosmic side if you go that way. So tell us a little bit about that new anthology. When's it? It's not out yet, right?
September 8th or something?
Yeah.
Officially releases September 8th. Yeah, we
there's a heavy hitter of table content. So I'm looking at that's an
awesome
act.
Yeah. It's
somebody called in some favors for that one.
I don't know how we got half of the roster that we did, but it's amazing. Yeah, like Eric LaRocca, Cena's in there.
Cena's in there, yeah. Laird Barron's in there.
Laird actually canceled. He's not in.
Oh, okay, he's not. Okay.
He had some personal issues that he had to drop out. But Gwendolyn Keist, Philip Ricassi, it's just like there's so many talented people in that. And yeah, I actually kind of, again, one of my obsessive things that I'm kind of obsessed with is like dreams and nightmares and why we dream and all that stuff. And I was like, I've never seen like a dream horror anthology, I mean, there's a lot of like, Nightmare on Elm Street, stuff like that in movies. But I haven't seen too much of it in fiction. So I brought the idea to Kenneth Cain, who's edited, because I had never edited an anthology before. I didn't really like know how to get started or what
he's done quite a few, right?
He's done quite a few. Yeah. It's like one of his like main jobs is editing anthologies for different publishers. So he brought it to Crystal Lake and they said, yeah, we can do it and we'll do it with a Kickstarter, just because like anthologies are really expensive to fund,
and they never make their money back either.
I don't know, like I think it's one of those, it all kind of depends on things.
That's true.
Some of them do really well, and then some of them are hard to sell. I feel like short stories are kind of a harder sell than novels. But we kickstarted it and we got more money than we thought we were going to get. So we were actually able to add like Todd Kieslin's story was like a bonus, and Laurel Hightower's story was also a bonus.
Oh, cool.
In there.
Nice.
So we got to add a couple of extra stories that we wouldn't have had. And so I'm really excited about it. It's a solid anthology. I know I'm biased, obviously, because I got to choose like a lot of the stories that are in there. But it's just every story hits so hard. And I'm excited for people to start reading it.
Was this your idea that you came up with because you wanted dream stuff, or like how did this?
Yeah, I kind of came up with the concept and I pitched it to Ken, and Ken was like on board, and he's also like a fan of like dream horror, like Nightmare on Elm Street, and a lot of those like abstracts, even stuff like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, like stuff that is just like kind of hallucinatory, trippy, psychedelic stuff.
It's right up my alley.
So there's a lot of trippy stuff in this. So, but yeah, I pitched it to him and then he took it to Crystal Lake, and that's kind of how we got the ball rolling on that.
What was that process like for you, since you said you'd never really edited anything like this before? Was that just a complete new learning curve for you to undertake, or?
The whole thing was a learning curve, because I basically did a lot of the actual like Kickstarter. Like we came up with the Kickstarter stuff, but like I ran it from like my account and I handled all the money and everything. But yeah, it was the whole thing was like a learning process, but it was good because he was kind of there to like teach me as I went along. And I mean, we worked really well together. So we approached all the authors together, the ones that we like wanted to have on board before we started the Kickstarter. So it was like Cena, Philip Fracassi, Gwendolyn Keist, Eric, a couple others, and they were on board. They could somehow, for some reason, said yes, and they got on board. So once they were on board, we made the Kickstarter, and then once we knew that we were funded, we opened it up for an open call. So we got
ask about that. Yes,
we got like 700 or 800 submissions, which is, I think it's about average. I think. From what I heard, like some anthologies get like 12 to 1500, which is like kind of crazy.
That's so almost intimidating to have to sift through all the stories and narrow it down.
You know, it was at first I was like, this is going to be crazy. I'm never going to be able to do this. Like, I'm not only that, my writing time is going to be like nothing.
Right.
But it did kind of cut into my writing time, but I was okay with it because it was, you know, a project that I really, really wanted to see out there. So, and yeah, like he's very well organized, like on the back end, since he's been doing this whole thing. So he organized like the email and had everything very organized. We had like a rating system that we would like all put notes in for each story after we read it. So like it was very organized and very like it was I was expecting it to be like a complete disaster.
Just chaos.
Just chaos, and I don't do well in chaos. But he made it very very easy. And so we got through all the stories, and it was good because like we kept up on them like as they were kind of coming in. So like we didn't let it build up to like 500 submissions, and then like you're looking at this daunting stack of stories to get through. And then you just kind of kept up on them, and that made it a lot easier narrowing stuff down too. So
I mean, you may have enough for part 2.
Part 2.
That's what we were saying. There were so many quality stories. Like it was really hard. It was really hard. That was probably the hardest thing, was like sending a rejection to someone, as someone who's been rejected a lot in their writing career. Sending a rejection to anyone is like super hard. But like when you get down to like, once you narrow it down to like a handful of stories and you can only keep some of those stories,
right?
Like cutting those like final ones were just like, oh, I was like cringing as we were sending the rejection. So it's like, oh man.
So were the choices made just between you two then?
Yeah, we had.
Okay.
No, we didn't have slush readers or anything. We read all through the stories, and we cut it down from the 700 or whatever down to, I think we had about 25, 30 stories. And then we had to cut that down to like 12. So
man, that's rough.
Yeah, it was
tell
rough.
Tell us about the fights, the arguments. There had to have been some, right? There had to be some disagreement.
That's the crazy thing. Like you would think that too, but like we had such a good system because we had everything like we were just rate our top stories. Like we'd give them like a grade, like a number from 1 to 10. And so when we had at the end, when we had those, it was just kind of like, all right, we didn't know how exactly to do it. We were like, all right, maybe we knew we had 12 stories. So it was like, maybe you pick 6 and I pick 6, and then that could be it. Or we could re-rate them all again, see if our ratings have changed on them. So ultimately we were kind of on board. Like we were just like, which ones do you think you want to keep? And like, I think we had like maybe a small difference of like 3 or 4 stories, like and the rest of them were like pretty good. And then of those 3-4 stories, we kind of were just, I forget exactly how we decided to do it, but it was just kind of like, what the best stories that we thought were, and that was it.
All right, be honest now.
Be honest now. Controversy, Jay.
Give us the big names that you had to turn away.
No,
I'm joking. Come on.
So did you all both read all the stories, or did you take like half and he read half?
No, we all read them all.
Okay.
That would have been a easier way to do it, a faster way to do it. But no, we both read each story.
That's cool. And so there's about 12 or so, you said, in the final anthology, about 12 stories?
The whole anthology is 19 stories, but
19.
of the open call, we have there's like 12. It was like 12 and then like 7 of the ones that were signed up before it got kickstarted. So
you were talking about a minute ago that that's good. You're talking about a minute ago that you don't really see too much dream horror as far as like books are concerned. Is there like a reason why you think that? Is it just the movies are able to visualize the horror stuff with it, and it's just harder to get that on paper, or what do you think it is?
I mean, I don't know, because like again, I'm a visual writer, so like I do a lot of dream sequences in my stuff. The Switch House is very dreamy, and hallucinatory. But yeah, I think there's probably something to that where I think it's a little bit harder to like have that come across on the page than it is on the visual aspect. And I'm not saying there's not like dreamy stuff out there.
But... Right. So I'm kind of, didn't Red Lago have what one of her short stories?
She's got a collection called Lucid Dreams.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Lucid Screams, but play on Lucid Dreams.
Right. Okay. That's what I was thinking. Okay.
Russell, congratulations, Tim, on the release.
Thanks, Russell.
So, what was it about? Without telling what the stories are about, was there like an overall kind of feeling you got from the stories you did pick that you wanted to put them in the collection? Like, did they capture the dreaminess the best, or I don't know how to ask that question without sounding weird like that. But was there something about them that just captured that kind of that feeling you're going for, like they do with more movies?
And did the dreams turn into nightmares?
Okay. So, I mean, that was one of the things that we had kind of discussed going into it. Was like, what do we want the tone to be like? Because the stories that we had contracted before we even kickstarted thing, we didn't know what those writers were going to write. We didn't know the stories they were going to turn in. So like, we didn't really know what the tone of this thing was going to be from their side, but like everything kind of just worked out in like some weird cosmic-y way. Because like all the like the tone of it is pretty it's pretty even throughout. And some of the stories that we had to turn around is because they just didn't fit the tone of like what the other stories were.
Right.
So it's definitely dark. There's a lot of dark stories in here that deal with like some really like personal issues. But yeah, they all have to do with mostly dreams and hallucinations and psychedelic stuff. And yeah, like going into it, it was kind of like we didn't have a specific like idea in mind for what the tone was, but it kind of just played out that way as we were going through the stories and narrowing it down.
I feel like that would probably work out better in your favor, just kind of naturally to develop this tone over time instead of having the authors write to a specific tone.
Yeah,
that makes kind of sense. Kind of you're boxing them in if you're trying to make them fit instead of them naturally coming to that conclusion themselves.
Right. And Ken and I both being writers, like we wouldn't want that put on us. Like we wouldn't want to be told exactly it. We want their talents and like their writing to showcase themselves. We wouldn't want to like restrict their creativity in any type of manner. So that's why it was like just dreamy, hallucinatory horror and however that ends up coming across at the end is how it's going to come across. But like I said, like the tone is pretty even throughout. So I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, because just dreams, horror dream stuff could cover a huge gamut of different genres and styles and tones and darkness levels and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we got stories that were like hilarious too, and like
nice,
and like the way just the way it was shaping up, it was like we ended up having to like cut a couple of those like funny stories just because they just didn't fit the tone, unfortunately.
I like when an anthology has like somewhat of a funny one just to break up,
to break it up.
The mood a little bit. So
and that usually like is like, that was one of my favorite ones because it stands out from the pack.
Yeah, we do have some lighter stuff. Like they're not all like super dark. We do have some lighter ones in there to kind of break up the tone, like you said. But there was just like some straight up like comedies that were just like.
So now you have experience doing it. You have experience doing it now. Would you be willing to do other anthologies now that you are a pro?
I don't know if I'm a pro yet, but I still feel like I can sharpen my skills. But yeah, it was like a huge learning experience, and it's something I definitely enjoyed. The Cell. I love that movie.
I don't remember that movie.
Oh,
that's not the Stephen King one, right? That's something different.
No.
It's got J-Lo, Vince Vaughn.
Doesn't have Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah,
I can never say his name.
Yeah, that's not ringing bells. I'm sure I've seen it.
That's actually one of we came up with like a list of movies, like list of comps like what we wanted our stories to kind of like be like, and that was one of the comps because that movie rules.
Yeah.
Never talked about, but totally cool. What was I saying before I saw this? I saw the
Hamlin, you messed us up, man.
I know. Thanks, Hamlin.
Oh, you're talking about the funny ones and taking the funny ones out.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about the funny ones, and then you asked if I would do it again, right? That
right.
was what I was talking about. Yeah, I would do it again if the opportunity presents itself. And I'm kind of like, we're kind of figuring some stuff out, so nothing's been set in stone, but it's possible. Could happen.
So I want to ask, since you said that you ran the Kickstarter side of it, do you, for any other authors out there that are maybe thinking of doing a Kickstarter for their book or collection or anything, is that something that you think you'd recommend? Do you think it was advantageous to do a Kickstarter for this project?
It was a lot of work. It was everything from just setting it up to getting the money, handling the money and the funds, and then shipping everything, because we shipped everything myself. My wife and I ended up like shipping everything. And there's just things like we didn't account for. So it was definitely a learning experience. Like shipping in overseas was difficult because we started the Kickstarter last year. We didn't ship everything to this year, and prices fluctuate. So we like kind of underestimated on some of the shipping and overestimated on some of the shipping. So it's like there's a lot of stuff that goes into running a Kickstarter. And anybody can just throw up a Kickstarter, but like to do it like right, and to like make sure you're advertising it right, and then like getting other Kickstarters to like, you got to kind of work together, like, because that's how a lot of them get funded, is like we had like 2 or 3 other anthologies that were like kind of working together and like like cross promoting our stuff on like to their backers and to our backers to help like get the funds up. So it's just a lot of work, a lot of coordination. I don't know if it's worth it for doing like a novel or something, or I don't really see it being worth it for that.
So with is the Kickstarter just open to the public? Hey, if you want to donate money to this, and what's in return? Do they get some? You said shipping. What's being shipped out?
There's like tier levels. You can
there's
donate.
There's different tier levels. So like we had a lot going on. We the 6 authors who signed up to be a part of it, they also like we bought signed books from them. So like we made like little book boxes.
Okay.
So like you could get like a Cynthia Pelayo signed book with you'll get a copy of the book as well.
Okay.
Ebooks, like there's different tiers. So like it's the way we looked at it was kind of like we're just pre-selling the book.
Yeah,
it's not like
pre-orders.
Yeah, it's kind of, we're just taking pre-orders on it essentially, because like we didn't make any money off the Kickstarter. The money that we made went 100% and a little bit more because I underestimated some of that, so I had to reach into my own pocket to fulfill some of it. But it's just.
It's not like a GoFundMe where you're just getting the money yourself.
No,
like,
you're it's all going to money. It's not a donation.
That's what I want to know, like the difference, because you see Kickstarters, you see a GoFundMe, and I want to make sure people realize there is a big difference in between.
It's not like that at all. It's like you're getting something for donating. And the way we treated it, it was like a pre-sale.
Okay.
Like if you donate, but you pay $10 and you get the ebook, or you pay $15 and you get a paperback, or whenever it comes out.
So we also had
$25 and you get the book and the ebook together, or stuff like that.
Yeah, and then so like for donating, like we also have like a special thank you section.
I was going to ask about that too. So okay,
everyone's name. So, that's usually like you pay $1. The $1 one, you get your name in the book.
The top tier, you might get like a beer koozie, or
about said something different there.
we didn't go that crazy. We tried to keep it as simple and streamlined as possible.
Because then you have to go out and make koozies and koozies and stuff.
We were thinking about doing that, like getting bookmarks and getting like kind of like a swag bag type thing going on. But we were looking at it like this is even more work than it already is. And like, do people even give a shit about that? Probably not. They're either donating because they want to help fund the project, or they were going to buy the book anyway. This was kind of a cool way to get your name in the book and also get the book like months and months and months before it actually hit the shelves. So that's kind of like what we sold on. It was a pre-order, and you're getting the book way before. Like I shipped the books back, I think in like March or April. I started shipping them out.
So they've had them for like 6 months before it comes out.
Yeah, they've had
some of these are overseas too that you're shipping.
Yeah, I think I had to ship like 1 or 2 books to Australia. I think that was like
wow,
about as far as you can.
Probably 30, 40, 50 bucks, isn't it?
It was like it was like over $40. It was like 43 bucks, I think, and so whatever.
That's crazy. Cool. I can't pay more for shipping than the actual product. That just drives me nuts. But I guess
I know
Australia, they don't have a choice though, really, which kind of sucks for them.
Yeah, and like I also learned that like some countries have like a tax, like an extra tax tacked onto the book. Like when they deliver your package, you have to pay the mail person like extra tax to
like
get your
COD, like cash on delivery. It's like,
yeah, it was like I was like, man, I already paid to ship it. Like why? And like not us, like the recipient has to pay that tax.
I wonder if like the postal service in Australia is like ran by the mafia, the Australian mafia or something. Yeah. One
backer actually got it, and they said that the books were worth like $700, so they were charging them $700 on tax on that, and they're like, it's like $2, like it's not $700. So I actually sent them like a copy of like the receipt of like how much the books actually cost, so they could like go and get that adjusted. But yeah, it's crazy. Like,
so the post office was saying the book was $700, so they're trying to charge them tax on that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
What?
It's crazy.
That doesn't seem like there's any proper regulation on it, and it's just like, wow.
Nope. It was
That's
weird.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
Learned a lot of stuff, not just publishing stuff, but like just.
You're an accountant now.
I mean, they can pull it up on
tax
Amazon.
guru.
You know, they can pull it up on Amazon. It's like, no, look, it's being sold for $14.99. How's it $700? You know, how's it $700? Wow.
Yeah. Well, they weren't on Amazon at the time.
Well, I know, but still, I mean, any book you could pull up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
They would like give me a heart attack, but you're trying to charge me $700 worth of taxes on this $15 book.
Yeah. It was crazy.
And their tax is probably like 35% or something. Like what?
Yes.
You know, it's like nuts. Wow.
Ugh.
That's cool. So, I mean, I'm excited to check out the final copy of that. Just the concept of it. I know we have like an early e-copy of it, but you know, I want to see the final thing put together and check it out. That's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially what you can do with
trippy psychedelic stuff. I mean, it's right up my alley. So.
Yeah, I love it too. All that Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas type.
Yeah.
So there's like a tagline that kind of went with the book. Where do we go when we dream? Which also kind of ties back into Lacuna's point. So do you have an answer for that? Where do you think we go when we dream? Do you have any answers for that? That's deep. Well,
that's the deepest you've ever. What episode is this? We're like episode 63. Is that the deepest you ever got?
I like how you're hitting me with that question after I finish my.
After you finish,
we'll do this question, then we'll play the game. Try to loosen after that deep question, Brad.
So where do we go? I don't know.
I know you like all the dreamy kind of stuff, so
yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I think it's just like, so again, dreaming and the way our brains work, like our brains are all different. So, like me, when I dream the craziest shit, like stuff that makes no sense. Like I actually for a while was keeping like a dream journal on my phone because the stuff I was dreaming was just so wild and bizarre. I would read them, but some of them are kind of embarrassing, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But like, and some of them I don't even like know. Maybe I will read one just for funsies. Let me see if I can.
I'm curious. Like, once you wake up,
now we want one. At least one.
Once you wake up, like, what does this even mean? Like, I have to do that a lot. Like, my dreams don't make any sense when I wake up sometimes.
Yeah,
we got little lyrics just now. Where do we go when we dream?
Yeah.
Well, he's looking at if you got what I was gonna say. When do you all ever have the dream like you're back in high school and like you're failing all your projects and classes? You like wake up having a panic attack, like, oh, I'm failing college, but no. Do you all have those dreams?
No.
Like you have a big project in school and you didn't do it, and you wake up and now there's just
high school was many decades ago for me, Brad.
I've never had that one. So here's one that I labeled dummy, because you can like in the app you can like name your dreams. So I wrote a scary doll holding the spirit of a little boy broke its wooden face on the road. Mother was angry. Don't know what the fuck it means. Don't remember that dream. But that's what I wrote down.
But that's your new novel coming at us in 2024.
That sounds like some good fodder.
Yeah, that was like a tame one. Some of them are just absolutely like nuts.
So have you ever gotten like a legit idea for a story from any of your dream journal stuff?
Kind of. I remember, so like the Switch House, my wife actually kind of planted the seed of that story, like the main idea with the couples going on like a house swapping reality television show. And like I was actually sleeping and she woke me up out of a sound sleep and I was kind of like half awake and half still dreaming. She's like, I have this cool story idea, and she just pitched that to me and I was like, whatever. And I just like went right back to sleep. And then like I must have dreamed it, because like when I woke up in the morning, like the whole story, like everything from the beginning to the end was just in my brain, and I started like writing it that day. So I think I like subconsciously dreamed that one. But yeah, like sometimes like there's little bits of dreams that I think make its way into my stories.
Do you purposely like eat a big meal and drink beer before you go to bed?
I don't need it.
Have weird. That's what
I don't need it.
Like doctors will say, don't eat before you go to sleep and all this stuff. But because I notice like if I eat late, then that's when I have the weird stuff. So you don't need it.
I don't need it. I just every night is just an acid trip when I'm sleeping. It's just crazy.
Because what you just read sounds like a cool kernel for a story, like the doll holding this little boy's soul. That sounds like a good like jumping off point for a story, a short story or something.
Yeah, find
these are your next novels. These are it right here. Your job.
Don't tell anymore. You're giving away your good ideas.
I know. Oh my god, some of these are just
like, are some just like completely incoherent and like make no sense.
Yeah, some of them are just
there's an old episode of Seinfeld when he woke up in the middle of the night one time and wrote something down and then spent the whole episode trying to figure out what it said.
Oh my god, some of these are really funny.
Is that like an app specifically for like dream journaling kind of thing?
Yeah, the one I'm on is called Lucid. This is this is one that's just called Bike, and it's apparently I was selling bikes to a woman who wanted one built during the Super Bowl. Don't know what that means.
Don't know.
It means don't bug me during the freaking Super Bowl.
Oh man, but yeah, they're fun. So I like doing that. I like writing down weird dreams that I have, and it's just cool. It's funny to read them back, because like I don't really remember them. Like the farther I am from a dream is like I remember less and less of them. And like this is kind of a way that what I actually kind of do remember when I was reading it, like vaguely. It's like there, but like it's so weird because like sometimes you can have like a dream that's really realistic too, and like I feel like a memory and the memory of a dream are almost like they overlap a little bit. Like they kind of, when you think about it, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes like, did I dream that or did that actually happen? Like, what?
So next time you come on, we'll book a dream interpreter to be on with us.
That would be amazing.
The whole episode. We got to.
And then I'll just read everything.
Just read
everything, even the weird ones that are.
She'll be like, Tim, you need help, or they'll be like, Tim, you need help.
Like my expertise is beyond. I can't do this. No, yeah.
You've probably heard this before, but have you all heard that like you can't, like your mind cannot like make up a face, so every face that you see in your dream is actually a real person you've seen in real life? Have you heard that before? So like, I've heard that like you can't like come up with like what a human would look like construct a face. So anyone in your dreams that you don't know is a face you've seen from somewhere like in real life before, like walking past them in a store or like a waiter at a restaurant or something like that. I've heard that before. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard before.
Because I mean, I've dreamed people who I've never like met before. Like sometimes they're just like random people. Sometimes they're people I actually know. So
it'd just be like just a face like you saw at the mall, like you had no interaction with them, but like your subconscious register that and like it's pulling from the database your dreams is. That's what I've heard before. I don't know if it's true, but that's kind of That's kind of wild, I think.
That is kind of wild.
You're storing all these faces you've seen, whether you had an interaction with them or not.
This will all be explained in the part 2 of the anthology.
Part 2.
Yeah, Never Wake 2.
Yeah.
Brad's faceless face person.
Faceless.
That's the name of the anthology. Faceless. Let's get into this game, Brad. We're getting dreamy. We're getting dreamy, Brad. Let's get into this game here and let's test Tim on his horror movies here.
We're doing horror movies.
Yeah,
I'm terrible.
Jay's in charge of the questions.
Yeah, so normally, just to preface this, Brad normally does the questions because I've been told my questions are too hard or too out of whatever. So normally I'm playing along with the guests, but we're going to switch it around this time. So you two get to play. So did you make an intro?
It's just the movie trivia one.
Okay.
It's okay.
Blacker.
Jay, don't. It's okay.
Slacker.
That's the
earlier
default for the movie stuff.
Okay.
Hey, I wasn't home today.
So earlier I asked him, I said, hey, are you an expert at anything special like thrash metal or Seinfeld or horror movies? He's like, I know every horror movie ever made in and out. I have the email. Yeah, I have the email to prove it. So we're gonna
show that email.
Okay.
Show it.
Number 1. What is the Leatherface family name? The last name of the family of Leatherface.
Oh my god!
And I probably should have done like multiple choice. Now that I think of some of these, but
no clue. I'll let Tim guess first, and then I'll guess.
It is mentioned at some point.
Oh, I've seen this movie like 100 times.
It's mentioned in what, like part 7, or is it this?
No, it is because they didn't come out and say this was Leatherface's last name, but it was the other characters in his family. Their last name was mentioned at some point.
Somebody in the chat just answered it for us.
Is that right?
So that is not.
It's not right.
No, it's not what I have.
No, then I have no idea because that sounds right to me.
What about you, Brad?
Smith. I have no clue. The Smith family.
Sawyer.
Yeah.
Sawyer. Yeah. Unless Google's wrong. I don't know. see now, yeah, he came back with Sawyer. So
Hewitt sounds right though. I feel like I've heard that.
Was maybe Hewitt a first name of somebody?
Could it be like there's like different like remakes and
but I'm going with the first one.
The original one?
Bad original one, yeah.
First bad original one.
I think
shots, Jay. Yeah, you don't like it. You don't like it?
Like I know I know it's a classic. I know it's important to the horror world, as far as movies go. But I'm like, this is just bad.
What about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2? That's my favorite.
All right, here we are. Number 2. How many people were set on fire while filming Night of the Living Dead?
What?
How many people in real life were set on fire while filming Night of the Living Dead? And hey, this is out there on the interwebs. This is a true horror trivia. Take a guess.
1.
You got one, Brad?
3.
It is 3, but check this out.
Oh man.
2 on purpose.
One accident.
Okay, 2 on purpose. The director and like one of his assistants, they did it on purpose for some. I forget which scene.
They called George Romero on fire.
No. 2 directors' assistants. That's what it was.
Okay.
For I forget which scene it is, and then one accidentally while setting up a scene.
Whoops, my bad.
But the answer is 3. So Russell saying 666. Come on, man.
The one that was accident, did they actually like get hurt, or they have like the goop on them, or they were just fine?
I didn't read that far into it.
You didn't read that far into it.
It's not that kind of trivia.
Yeah. We'd have to go down deep. You and your miracle, where do we go when we dream kind of stuff, Brad.
That's a good question, Jay. That's a good question.
Hey, these are all good questions. Trust me, okay? All right, we're going to go to The Exorcist here, okay? Number 3. What does Reagan say to the astronaut at her mother's party? It's just before she pisses on the floor.
Doesn't she tell him that he's going to die up there?
You got it. Yep. You're going to die up there. He's an astronaut. Get it?
I got it.
See, that was good. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Here, you might like this one here. Okay. Which horror movie, and I specify horror movie because there's two movies, but which horror movie led to the MPAA's PG-13 rating? So this horror movie and another regular movie made them decide to have a PG-13 rating.
When did PG-13 even start? God,
it started like
if
I guess the year, do I get a bonus?
Yes.
I didn't write the year down, but yeah, go for it.
Damn it.
Jay, come on, you're sliding.
It's probably like 1985, like 1986, somewhere in that area.
But which?
I was going to say the 80s, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie's from the 80s. Both movies from the 80s, but there's one that was a horror movie. The other one was kind of an action adventure type thing. But
I don't know. Did that come out in the 80s?
It's kind of a kid's horror movie.
I think I know what it is, maybe, but I'll let Tim have a guess.
But it's very scary for a kid's horror movie, I guess.
Yeah. Oh man.
I feel like I watched this with my son recently. He's like, "This is way more graphic than I remembered it being." But I might.
Well, now you said it was a kids movie. I want to say like Monster Squad.
Not necessarily a kids movie. I mean, I watched it when I was a kid, but I can't really. I'm old, so I can't really, use that as a judgment. But still,
The Gate, maybe. I don't know. I'll go with The Gate.
What do you have, Brad?
Is it Gremlins?
It's Gremlins.
Oh, is it Gremlins?
Gremlins as the horror movie. The other movie is Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom.
Yeah,
so
the
those
heart scenes, what did that?
Yeah, those two movies made the MPAA create the PG-13 rating.
That heart scene when he rips the heart out terrified me as a kid. That scared me to death.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Okay, number 4. Or we were 4? No, that was 4. Number 5. What was Freddy Krueger's serial killer nickname before he died?
God, these are some deep cuts.
You said you were the master? I'm kidding. Just for the record, he did not say he was the expert at it.
I said I'm awful at trivia.
Yeah.
please don't make me do this.
He said, could we just do stuff about Friends, the TV show? And I said, no, that's just
Pivot.
Pivot. Oh, man.
Freddy Krueger's serial killer nickname before he died. My buddy Lewis is in the chat. He probably knows this. He's a slasher fanatic.
Oh my God. His nickname?
Mm-hmm.
Like what
the town basically was referring to him instead of Freddy Krueger. He had a nickname.
Is this from the original one? Do you know?
Yeah, it was mentioned in the original one. It was mentioned in a couple of other.
I think
episodes.
Lewis has it, but that would never have gotten that.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Oh, all right. Springwood Slasher.
Yeah.
Good job, Tim.
told you Lewis, my buddy Lewis would have it. He's
go.
Fanatic.
I was gonna say like the Night Stalker or something. I had no clue.
Okay.
Lewis just Googled that probably, by the way.
Yeah.
He had plenty of time to Google that.
He's pretty up to date with the slashers, trust me. So. All right, in the movie Get Out, what does Chris use to not get hypnotized? He's kind of doing something.
I still haven't seen Get Out yet.
So I guess you won't get this then.
I've seen
Get Out.
Just don't remember. I don't remember things that I watch.
Yeah. I'm the exact same way, but mine's just old age. So
I'm getting up there.
Even though I haven't seen it, I've got a guess.
Well, doesn't he it's like a physical object?
Yeah, so he's sitting in a chair.
He's picking the chair, like the cotton out of the chair.
Yeah. So that's exactly what he's doing. He's like, there's a hole in the chair. He's picking the cotton out of the hole in the chair. And it prevents him from being hypnotized. It was Jordan Peele did it because he had a lot of racial insensitive subjects in this movie. So that was one of the things that he highlighted in it. Yeah.
So I was gonna say you like poked his finger or something with a thumbtack, like you do when you're trying to do the lie detector.
No, I mean they actually show. Get Out's great, right? Yeah, check it. But he's actually showing like a little close up of him, like there's a hole in the chair.
I remember that scene. I forgot that's like why he was doing that. I thought it was for something else, but
yeah, it apparently kept him from being hypnotized. I need to rewatch it. So
just concentrating on it so hard.
Yeah. All right, number 7. What film starred an actor who did not know they were acting in a horror movie?
What film?
What film has an actor who did not know they were acting in a horror movie?
Can you give a hint, like what decade this was?
Let's just say it's a Stephen King movie. If I say much more, you're going to get it right away.
I think
I could say the actor was a child.
Okay, I guess I was wrong. I still think I have a guess.
I mean, that narrows it down a little bit, I guess.
I was gonna say Tim Curry. He didn't know Pennywise was a horror movie. He just thought it was a goofy clown movie. But
really, I don't know if I heard that.
No, that was gonna be my guess until you said it was a child.
I got you. Think of some of the Stephen King movies where a child was like one of the main characters.
Yeah, I was going to guess The Shining, so I'll just go with that. That was my first instinct.
That's what it is, The Shining. So apparently Danny Lloyd was made to believe he was acting in a family drama. And he didn't find out until he became a teenager it was a horror film. However, the twin sisters knew it was a horror film that were in it. So
I was gonna say Drew Barrymore for Firestarter.
Oh,
that would have been a good guess. Actually,
that's what Rowan guessed. Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That would have been a good guess. But okay, couple more. We're getting through this. Okay, now we know why I don't pick the questions normally. Number 8. What song? Here we go. And you guys are going to hate me for this one. What song does Sidney Prescott's boyfriend serenade her with in the cafeteria in Scream 2?
Oh my god, that's like the one I've watched the least. I have no idea. It's been so long since I've watched Scream 2.
You got one, Brad?
I have no clue.
Brad doesn't know anything about music. He listens to hip hop, country, or something.
The real Slim Shady. That's what he was. Yeah. He was reminiscing.
Anyone in the chat? What song? Any Scream fan? You know what, Lewis? Where you at? You're a slasher dude. Sidney Prescott's boyfriend serenades her with a song in the cafeteria in Scream 2.
I don't even remember what happens in Scream 2.
I really don't either. To be honest with you, they all kind of blend together.
I mean, I remember it. I just don't remember.
Oh, Russell with the win. Look at that.
Oh,
him and Hamlin.
And Hamlin got it too. They're Googling it.
Is that
the Partridge Family. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have never gotten that in a million years.
All right, here's an easy one for you guys. Okay.
Yeah, that's what's pretty easy. The Partridge Family. So you're gonna say it's easy. They were like the hardest one yet,
dude. I got 2 more, and I think both are easy. Okay.
Oh god, make us feel stupider when we don't get it. That's nice.
This is Rowan said this is my jam. I could do the Gary Busey video going around. It's not my jam. I
saw that the other day. He seems like such a.
I don't buy jam. I buy honey, and I kiss it on the lips.
He's a strange guy.
I'm sorry, and nobody knows what I'm talking about. They're going to look.
I saw it yesterday. It was the guy's interviewing him. He's like, "What is going on?" I felt sorry for the guy.
Sorry, Rowan. You probably don't even know it. You're going to look it up now. So, all right. Number 9. What was Michael Myers' first victim's name? Think about who his first victim was.
Oh, I know. I got it. This is like a trick question.
This was like a trick question, but I still forget.
Okay, so who was his first victim?
It would have been.
Well, it depends on what timeline we're talking about. No, it's
the original.
It's a sister.
Yeah.
Starts with a J.
Yeah. Oh, Russell got it. See?
Oh.
Judith. The only reason I remember that is because I used to work in a haunted house, and in the Myers room we had her tombstone sitting on the bed, Judith Myers.
I thought it was somewhat easy question. No.
Yeah, I'm terrible at remembering things. So
we're gonna bring it home now. Number 10. You got this one. Okay.
Oh God.
Don't fail us, Jay. Give us a good question.
Which horror film actress? And we're going back 70s. Okay.
Tim's never coming back to the show after this. So I hate you guys.
Which horror film actress slept in bloody clothes for 3 days to get the proper look for a gory scene?
I'm just gonna go with maybe the original Carrie movie. Did I get it? Yeah.
Say the name.
What's her name? Do you know her name?
Oh God.
It's SS as her initials.
Yes. See, but he knew what I was talking. He knew the direction.
Yeah. So. I knew where you're going with it. No, I'm just awful at names. Sissy Spacek. As soon as you said it, I knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just bad with names.
That's an iconic look with the blood and
yeah.
So Russell got it in the chat. Okay, that's it. That's all I got. Okay,
that's it. Are you sure you don't want to keep going?
I mean, we could, but
you got some bonus questions, Jay.
It was hard enough for me to get these 10. I thought that was somewhat hard.
Yeah. Good God.
All right. So next, it'll be probably another 25 shows before I do the questions. That's about what we do. Like every 25 shows, I do the questions. Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough because you never know like what people's like. I don't retain that much like information. Like
I don't like people talk about like certain movies and stuff on Twitter and talk about horror movies. And my buddy Lewis is in the chat here. He'll mention something about a horror movie or something. And like, yeah, I saw that, but I'm also almost 46 years old. I probably saw it when I was 6. I can't remember, what
every single thing that happens.
Yeah.
So. What kills me is when
I got the Exorcist question.
You got a handful of those that were, you're going in the right direction there.
Yeah.
What kills me when people say like, yeah, back in 1997 is when this happened. I was like, how do you remember what years things happened? That kills me. I can't do that.
You weren't even born in 97, so
I was like 3 years old in 97. I'll have you know. I'm just playing.
Some people will be offended by that.
Shush. So I want to go back to talk about Lacuna's Point some more. So with your, I don't know if I'd say infatuation, but your like of dream kind of state, did that have a play in this? Because there's very much, without trying to give too much away since it's new, there is very much like kind of a dream state that people kind of are thrown into, and they kind of come back in reality. So were you kind of playing with the dream stuff in this one a lot?
Yeah, I do. I do that often with stuff. Have like a dreamy kind of feel to it, a surreal feel to the events that are going on. So yeah, there definitely was some influence there.
Did this come from your dream journal?
No, it didn't.
It wasn't one of your dream. Okay,
no, wasn't a dream journal book. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why. I like that trippy kind of surreal. Like you're kind of questioning reality as you're going through it. I think it makes for like just like compelling drama,
Yeah. It builds the suspense because like the first, I don't know, 50 to 100 pages, it felt like it was being set up as initially like time jumps, but it I don't want to spoil anything, but kind of steers away to time standing still, and I'm glad it went into the direction it did, because instead of the normal, time jumps you would get, it was a kind of a different way. So the dream sequence kind of ties into that. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yep. Cool.
And I feel like messing with time is always very an iffy thing to do, because you can just kind of like negate like everything, like, oh, they're going back in time and they fixed everything. It's very
there's like a lot of continuity stuff. I would love to do just like a straight up like time travel or time jump thing, but it is a little tricky, like you said, because just like continuity wise, and you could run into some plot holes pretty easily doing that stuff.
So what was it like for you creating the town of Lacuna's Point? Because sometimes like with Stephen King's book Salem's Lot, like I feel like Jerusalem's Lot is a character in itself, but this felt like even more so because the town, it changes and rearranges and stuff. So it felt like even more of a character than just what a normal town would be. So was that fun to write? Create this town and make it feel almost like its own character in a way.
Yeah, that's exactly how I approached it. I kind of wanted the town to feel like it was its own entity, and but yeah, that's exactly how I approached it. I wanted to give it. I didn't want to be too detailed because that can sometimes be boring, but I wanted to give enough of the town and the layout to do those things where the town's kind of like moving certain parts of it around in certain parts of the novel, because it feels a little bit more mysterious that way. It helps build up the suspense, like Jay said, and it does kind of feel like its own entity, which it should. If you've read the novel, it would makes sense, kind of makes sense. So,
and like the clock tower, like it's almost like the all-seeing eye, almost like I think you even mentioned like the Tower of Mordor, Sauron's tower, whoever. Then from Lord of the Rings, it feels kind of like that in a way, where it's kind of watching over everybody. And the whole thing gave me the whole. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no,
I would say the whole thing kind of gave me like Twilight Zone vibes in a way. Like it had that very kind of Twilight Zone feel to it.
It did, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely influenced by Twilight Zone too, and actually this movie, like Pleasantville. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I've heard of it.
It's been ages again because I'm old. Yeah. Remember that, but yeah, it's
like it has some like similar vibes to that as well. Pleasantville, if you haven't seen it, it's like a 1998 movie with blanking on names. Reese Witherspoon's in it, and Tobey Maguire. And like they get sucked into like a television show from like the 50s, like a Leave It to Beaver type television show, and they're kind of like stuck there. So had kind of like, and that has kind of like a Twilight Zone feel to it too. And yeah, Lacuna's Point does kind of remind me of like a classic episode of the Twilight Zone, just with crabs
and body horror.
I really think the setting of Lacuna's Point, I think it's pretty successful. Like I think you were successful in creating this town, this area that these things were happening. Do you think in the future you may ever like revisit this area with like another story? Make it part of the Tim Meyer universe and like just make a reference to it again, because I could see more happening.
Yeah. So. Yes and no. Like I've kind of already done that. Like there's references to one character specifically who actually appears in another one of my earlier works, like the second novel I ever wrote. Kind of don't want to give that away because it might be a spoiler.
Yeah.
But there is a character in here that appears in another novel that kind of like ties like the universes. All of my novels kind of have like that Stephen King, like they all kind of take place in like the same. Yeah. So there are like little connections here and there, but I think mine are probably more like hidden.
Yeah.
They're not as obvious. Like they're buried. The Easter eggs are buried.
A little more subtle.
You gotta work for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Russell's got a question here for you. Which of your novels do you recommend starting with if I've never read you before, or would you recommend beginning with a short story collection?
It's a good question. I always usually recommend The Switch House because I feel like that's, first of all, it's short. It's a novella. It's only like 35,000 words. I don't know how many pages that equals. Okay. But it's like half the size of a traditional novel. So I always feel like The Switch House is a good place to start. It's trippy and dreamy. It's got cool characters. It's got a cool little twist in there, and I think it's one of my personal favorite things that I've written. So
I feel like that one gets mentioned a lot when people talk about your stuff. I hear The Switch House come up a lot.
Yeah, in Sadie Hartman's book that just came out, she mentioned it in there, which was pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah.
Actually, I was trying to find it, but I don't know what page it's on.
I think it's in like the first section, the haunted houses.
Is it okay?
Have you noticed anything for yourself has changed as far as your style of writing since the earlier stuff, like a Switch House, to where you are now with LACUNA'S Point?
I mean, I think I'm always improving. Like, I think that's just one of the things that writers go through. Like, they're always kind of improving on their craft. So I think like the writing itself is getting better each time out. Sometimes there you go. There it is.
The Switch House.
Yeah, I mean, I think the writing itself definitely improves, and it's so weird. Like when you're starting a new novel, there's kind of like this weird, like, how did I do this again moment where like you kind of forget all those past experiences, and you kind of feel a little bit lost until you start going along and putting words down and kind of hit that rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just getting better as a writer, just growing, always improving.
You ever look back at some of your earlier stuff and just think, what was I thinking?
I can't even do it, man. Like sometimes like I will just like have a peek and I'll be like, oh, I gotta write that.
Who read that? Who wrote that?
Yeah.
Read that? Yeah.
So that's the thing I don't do. Once it's published, I try not to read it. Even the newer stuff though, it's like I'll read something, I'll be like, oh, I could have. I'm very hard on myself as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm very like critical, and I'm constantly like dissecting my writing, and because I want it to be the best it can possibly be. And even like the newer stuff, even after it's published, like if I read a page of LACUNA'S Point, like I'll be like, oh, I should have, did this or that, and like I'm just constantly second guessing myself. So at some point I get to a point where I'm like, all right, it's as good as I can do it before I lose my mind reading through it like one more time, and that's kind of when I know it's done. But which is why like when you guys ask me if I want to do a reading, I'm like, oh, not really, because I'll be like self-editing it as I read it. Even
it already sounds different when you're reading something out loud and as opposed to like on paper. So
yeah, and I do that. Like I have a pretty like intense, because I'm so critical of myself, I have a pretty intense like revision process. So like once I write the rough draft, I'll like let it sit, then I'll read through it again and like leave myself notes in it, and then I'll do like a second draft and sometimes a third draft, sometimes even a fourth draft if it needs it. And then I'll go back and revise it a bunch of times, and then during one of the revision rounds I'll actually read it out loud just so I can get a sense of how it sounds. So that's just it's like built into my process, and it's always the worst part of the process for me, because I hate the sound of my own voice.
You said this one was really 2020 that started the pandemic, and we've established it's a pretty thick chunker. What was the timeline for this from beginning to end?
It probably took me like maybe 4 months, 5 months to write the first draft.
Okay.
And then probably spent like another 6 months, 7 months like editing it and going through that whole process. Second draft. Usually the second draft is quicker. Usually it's like, depending on the story, it's usually like about 3 to 5 months for a first draft. And then usually like 2 months for a second draft. Because
does that differ much as far as the timeline goes if there was no pandemic?
Not sometimes it honestly depends. It depends on if I have short stories I have to write for like invites, or if I sign myself up to edit an anthology, or various like life sometimes just gets in the way. So I definitely, the pandemic was definitely easier because I had so much more free time, because I really didn't leave my house for a while. So it was definitely easier. But like, for example, Malignant Summer, which is even longer than this book, that one's that one's almost 200,000 words, which is not quite
153 pages. I don't know.
Probably about that. No, it's probably about like 600 pages. But anyway, that one took me like 9 months to write the first draft. and that was when I was actually still like working and just living life like normal.
Well, that's pretty quick for a book that size.
Yeah.
29 months.
Yeah, I mean that was just the first draft, so then it took me like another probably 9 months to do all the second draft and editing, revising. But yeah, it all depends. Like Limbs was probably the fastest thing I ever wrote. That's much shorter. I'm gonna just say it's 50,000 words. And that probably I wrote in like 3 to 4 weeks. Like I just knocked that thing out like super quick because it was just very in my head, and it was very clean first draft. I didn't really have to do a whole lot in the second, third, like revision wise. So
what's easier for you, the longer novels, short stories, or what?
Oh man,
Is there one easier, or do you prefer one over the other?
I do like writing a big immersive novel. That there's just something like really cool about writing those.
You have more time to get stuff out in it,
as
opposed to like the handcuffs of a short. The way I look at it, the handcuffs of a short story.
I like characters, so like I like writing a lot of different characters and from different points of view. I know like readers don't always like that. Like they kind of get like bogged down with it. But I love like jumping from different characters and seeing the whole story play out in like a panoramic view of like one situation. So that's like Malignant Summer. There's like 20 different characters that have like perspectives that I'm writing from. So it's like that one's super immersive. This one's obviously a lot less, but there's still like a decent like revolving door of perspectives. So yeah, I don't know. There's just something cool about like writing those big immersive, like just detailed and like, I don't know. I do like it, but I think the short story is like the hardest thing to write for me. Because
you have to do everything
you don't have a lot of
characters, all kinds of stuff, and just that.
Yeah.
Exactly. 6,000 words. You got to get
everything in there.
So the short stories are usually it's like one character, one perspective, and it's pretty straightforward and obviously not as detailed. And but I feel like I used to not. Again, this is probably me being overly critical of myself, but I think like short stories for me in the beginning were like very hard, and I've kind of gotten better at writing them over time. And I think that's also because I used to really mainly only read like novels. Like that would take up like 95 to 99% of what I read was novels. And so now that I've been reading like more short fiction, and over the past 5 years or so, I've kind of really gotten into short stories and reading them and like dissecting them and studying them and like how they're structured. I think that has definitely helped. Oh, Chad Lutsky. What a supporter.
Chad, we were talking so nice about you at the beginning of the show, Chad.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to go back to the beginning.
We'll start over because Chad just showed up.
Yeah,
that's what we have to do.
I actually called you my best friend, Chad, just so you know. I did, and the other two just rolled their eyes about it.
Yeah,
they didn't believe me, but
but you were talking about you like to write multiple characters from different viewpoints. And when Josh first came in, I was like, what are we doing with this kid? Because he's like nowhere near what's going on. And then it all comes together. But yeah, I like Josh a lot.
Yeah, I do that too.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I do that too in novels where like I'll get to a certain point and then I'll just throw in like a random character that like you think has nothing to do. Like it's like where did this come from? This is
that's what it kind of felt like at first. It was like almost like a side story when it was like
because we were kind of like established, like, well, let's go look at this point. Some of our characters are there, and then like this kid, he's like way out doing something else. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I love doing that. It's like I don't know, that's just kind of fun for me. I've done that a lot in actually my novels. And then when I watched have you guys seen that movie Barbarian?
Yes,
I have. But
they do that. They do that too. Not to give away spoilers, but they do that too. Like in the middle of the movie, there's just like it's like you're watching a completely different.
Justin
movie.
Long comes in, like, what's going on?
Yeah, but then like I was like, oh man, that's like what I do. I love that, and I love that movie. And you haven't seen it, you should totally watch it. But
I liked what you did with Josh, but the person was like, what are we doing with this kid? Because he's like not involved in what's already going on. But yeah, you tie him in, of course, with the story. But I do like that as well. Kind of pulling in a character like, oh, you think at first like this is completely random, but then they end up being very integral to the story.
Yeah, I love doing that stuff.
And speaking of characters, do you like or do you enjoy writing unlikable characters? And I'm talking about Officer Foley, because I hated him from like the moment he opened his mouth. I was like, I don't like this guy at all. Because sometimes it's up to interpretation whether unlikable or not. But he's just straight up unlikable. I don't think anybody's gonna like Officer Foley.
No, I don't think anyone should like Officer Foley.
should like him.
If you do like Officer Foley,
there's some problems. We need to talk.
Have some self-reflection, possibly.
Yeah,
possibly. But I mean, hey, we do live in like a weird time where that could possibly,
that's true. Yeah, unfortunately,
that could possibly happen. So,
but fun just to write on purpose, like nasty.
It is. It is kind of like interesting to write like the villains of the story, just because it's like it's different than how I think, and it's like so far removed from how I think that it's like it's almost just like a study in psychology of like how people's brains sometimes work, because like there are Officer Foleys out there, like that's
right,
like that happens. So
in real towns, not just he's made up. I got you.
Yeah, it's like not really fiction. Well, it is fiction, but it's based off of like some stuff. So, but yeah, it's different to get inside that mind and like that way of thinking, and it's more interesting than it is fun. I think, because sometimes it's not fun being inside those minds at all.
With something like Officer Foley, where it is, unfortunately based off, real life, is that like, do you ever feel like, oh, I've gone too far with this, I need to dial it back some and maybe pull back a little bit? Like I've gone too far with what this character might be doing, because it is a very touchy subject in reality right now. Kind of the stuff.
Yeah. I kind of, the way I look at it is like it's real life, and that's just how sometimes that is. Sometimes it's not right, but it's just it's out there. So I mean, it's nothing different than what you turn on the news and see. So like, I try not to like dial it back. I try to present, even though it's fiction and we're dealing with a fictional world and fictional characters, it's still taking place within the confines of like our known established reality. So I kind of just try to go with what I know and what I see that's taking place,
It's almost like you're kind of writing subconsciously, because you pick up the stuff automatically, and then it's finding its way into this deplorable character in the book, and it's almost too real,
Exactly.
So what's Chad say? Tim just wants to watch Cosmic News.
How many projects are you working on now? Probably have 5,000 or 6,000 novels.
Sounds about right. I mean, I've been on a little bit of a rough start. Like I think the last 3 novels before the one I completed, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But the last 3 novels I tried writing, I like got stuck at like halfway and had to abandon them. So I have like 3 half completed novels that I may or may not go back and try to finish. I have 1 novel that's like really complete, and I think I have a publisher for it. I haven't signed anything, so I can't really say. But that novel is called Vanishing Castles, and it's cool. It's kind of like it's like a thriller, but like, do you guys ever watch like Channel Zero?
Yeah.
It's kind of like got that vibe. So it's got like kind of like a like an urban legend type of like vibe to it.
That's cool.
But it's
that title sounds very urban legendy too. I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty. It was pretty fun to write. So that one's another one that's just insane. But hopefully we'll have some news on that soon. Then I wrote a fantasy novel like a grimdark, like swords and sorcery fantasy novel.
Jay's excited.
Oh, Tim, come on. No.
I feel like, is this one you've had for a while? Because I feel like I've heard you talk about this before, and it's like super long.
Just finished it. It's not long. It's
is it not?
It's actually shorter than Lacuna's Point, but it also, it's a standalone, but it could honestly be like the first part of like a 10
book series.
saga.
Jay's like so pumped now.
I'm not.
Well,
Jay doesn't like the big fantasy log series. I love that kind of stuff. I can eat that up. Yeah.
It was really fun to write.
I just don't like fantasy series because I need the story to end before I die. I'm older, guys. Okay, and these fantasy series are not going to end anytime soon.
Don't start don't start a Song of Ice and Fire then, because you'll never finish it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. I think I'm gonna try and maybe get an agent for that, because it's fantasy, and like I don't know any fantasy publishers and who would be willing to take that on, so I might need some help trying to sell that. But I wrote the rough draft earlier this year, and I still gotta go through my revisions and stuff. I already went through it once and left myself some notes and for some changes for the second draft, so I'll probably tackle that after I finish another novel that I'm working on, which is like the YA alien abduction novel. I'm about halfway done with that first draft. So, but that one I had to I think I was telling you before, I had to stop and kind of rewrite it because it kind of hit a dead end, but a dead end that I kind of was able to see my way through with rearranging some of the scenes. So.
Chad's talking trash. You're gonna sell out once you unleash your fantasy saga.
Yeah, he's the one who's trying to convince me to write like a 10 book series, and I'm like, oh man, that's so hard, especially when like I've done the series thing before, and it's so hard to write like after the first book is published and it doesn't sell that well. It's so hard to write knowing that you're going to sell even less. Yeah, like that no one's going to read it. So
you're going to sell outsell us.
Outsell them.
That's what you meant, Chad.
Outsell them as in sell more than them.
Sell more books.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
So is fantasies that really out of your wheelhouse for what you normally are writing?
I like reading fantasy. I like the George R.R. Martin stuff, Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time. I've only read the first 2 books. I do kind of do the same thing where I'll read the first book in the series and then just never pick up the rest of the series again. I don't know why I do that, but I love all those fantasy books. So it's just I've written some short stories that have straight fantasy elements to it, but this is the first novel that I've ever
done. What did Dave Grohl steal from you guys? I have to go back to that.
Is it the
Oh my god. It was we had an idea to do a band goes to record an album at a haunted house, and then literally the next week that trailer came out for that Dave Grohl movie, and we're like, oh, we can't do that now. But who knows? We might still do it. I told him we should still do it. You can't copyright
an idea. Yeah.
But and ours would be totally different, obviously. But
so I mean, it sounds like you're staying somewhat busy.
Yeah,
just a little.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little.
So, and then short stories. I'm always writing. I'll see an open call for something, and I'm like, I have to write something for that.
You should reach out to was it Tor.com? They do fantasy series that aren't very long. They did this one recently, and they're short. They're only novella size.
Yeah, I was trying to think of.
Oh wow,
is it them or?
I think they do the Martha Wells stuff. I can't remember.
Yeah, there's just one that's kind of around in the community that does. I think they lean more towards fantasy. I want to say. I can't. Is it Tor I'm thinking of?
Tor.com does a lot of shorter stuff. Oh, that's gonna bother me. The Martha Wells stuff. Something in the robot, or let me look it up. Murderbot is the series she does, and it's all sci-fi fantasy, but they're all pretty short if I'm not mistaken. Novella length, but it's a series.
Chad wants to know. He loves short books, and he's been getting into fantasy too. He's been reading.
I want to say, Flame Tree does some.
Thank you, Mindy.
Stuff.
Murderbot is the Murder Wells stuff.
I think they do have a fantasy line.
They have fantasy and sci-fi line.
Yeah, I'll have to do some research, but we'll see. Yeah. It's not there yet. It's not quite there yet. Needs some work, but I like it. It's a cool story, and it's.
I'd be down. I love fantasy stuff.
Well, I'll probably need a beta reader or two, so maybe I'll reach out if you want to take a look.
I'm down.
Oh, you just made Brad's night. There you go.
Totally
You did.
Dude, yeah. I like fantasy. I feel like fantasy's. I feel like it's an easier market to probably sell books because I feel like there's so many. I feel like horror's like really niche and fantasy's just like everywhere. But
it is.
Yeah.
Fantasy's really expand. I mean, you know, a lot of kids are in fantasy.
Yeah.
What did you say, Jay? They're cringy. Is that what you said?
I think a lot of kids are into fantasy stuff.
Oh yeah.
So you have a bigger audience. So.
Yeah. That's true.
Grimdark too. So that's like almost horror fantasy in a way, the darker side of it.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like when I was reading it back, I'm like, this is dark, but also I put a lot of jokes in there for some reason. Uh-huh. So it's like there, yeah, it's kind of like this weird balance between being super dark and then like very funny in spots. So
I could do some of the darker fantasy stuff. That doesn't bother me so much. It's the Lord of the what is it?
Lord of the Rings,
Lord of the Rings, and you know that kind of stuff. I'm like,
the most famous fantasy of all time, Lord of the Rings.
Oh man, I reread Lord of the Rings last year, and it was such a great experience. Like I love those books.
I'd like to reread it again. Have you read those? I can never say it right. The Silmarillion, or how
I haven't read that. I mean, I've read The Hobbit a few times, obviously, but yeah, I haven't read that. Or there's another one too that's like part of the world, right? I forget the name of that one.
I feel like it depends on what version you get. They're all tied into the Silmarillion.
Yeah,
but
I got like some, I don't know, I got some omnibus version of it, of all three of them, and yeah, it was a cool experience to reread those.
You said yours was like more sword and sorcery. So was it like Conan vibes almost?
It's no, I wish I could like compare it to something, but I guess like the closest thing is probably like Game of Thrones-esque, but like no dragons really. But there's
extreme suburban dark fantasy.
No, Chad's got it.
Don't think I was next level nerd stuff.
It's
basically a textbook. It's not like a narrative plot. It's just like this happened here, this happened here. It's like almost bullet points.
Those were the words I was looking for.
There you go. Hamlin, Children of Huron, or however you say it. That's one of the ones that's in there.
Yeah.
Jay's gonna fall asleep. We'll talk about
tapping out. That's fine.
It's just fantasy. I'm like, what?
Whenever your fantasy stuff comes out, I'm down to read it because it sounds cool. I like that.
Yeah, man.
I'll every now and then.
I'll send it your way for some feedback.
Tim, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and we're thankful that you decided to stop.
Jay's piecing out his fantasy stuff.
No. I mean, dude,
I'm just
tired. But where can people stalk you? Are you Twitter, Instagram?
I am everywhere on social media. Twitter or X or whatever the fuck they're calling it.
Yeah, really. Like 7 or 8 now. So
on there,
it's so extreme now. It's X. So stupid.
Instagram. I post a lot of Instagram pictures, mostly of beer, sometimes of books. Then I'm also on Blue Sky and Threads and Facebook. I'm like everywhere. And TikTok. Don't forget about TikTok on there. I don't post regularly on there as I probably should, because that's where all the cool people are hanging out these days.
That's where you go. That's where you go viral and blow up.
But I mean, if you're not doing a dance or falling and getting hurt, then people.
I gotta work on my dancing. Is the problem. It's not there yet.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
Yeah. Tim Meyer, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. LACUNA'S Point.
Out now from DarkLit Press.
This was
fun.
If you want
a weird, strange,
it might
cosmic,
take you,
trippy, dreamlike horror story. Check this one out.
It might take you a few hours to read.
Just a few hours.
A couple hours.
It's juicy. I like that. It's juicy. It's very horror-y and juicy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got crabs and body horror. So if you're down for that, you're down for this book.
And we have an anthology coming out shortly that he was part of together.
Yep. I got Neverwake coming out through
Neverwake.
Crystal Lake, and I also have a novella coming out next month, which I didn't even talk about. But
it's just sliding under the radar.
Yeah.
just
What's that one called?
it's called Rainbow Filth, and it's coming out through.
That's
Ghoulish
with Max,
Books.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That sounds.
so,
I
okay.
love that title, Rainbow Phil.
Comes out like the same day I think Neverwake does, so that'll be fun doing cross promo for that.
There you
Cross
go.
promo.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
For everyone in the
I've-
chat, thanks so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Tim, a pleasure. Hopefully, we didn't scare you away with that trivia.
no,
He's never
it's
coming
fine.
back after that.
That was a good trivia tonight.
We'll just have to do Seinfeld next time.
Yeah, we could do
Yeah.
that. We can do that. Thanks so much, Brad. I think that's it, buddy.
I think it is. Tim,
All right.
appreciate you coming on, hanging out. It was a blast. Everyone, go pick
Thanks,
up
guys.
LACUNA'S Point. Pick up Rainbow Filth and Neverwake next month.
Yep.
Lots of cool stuff coming from. Do you have a story in Neverwake or just edit it?
No, I just edited it. Edited it.
Edited it.
Edited it.
And on,
I
and on that
edited
note,
it.
that's the way the cookie crumbles. Edited it. See you guys. Till next time.
See you guys. Love you, Jay.
I know you do.